Chapter 26, Meeting. Chi Hao, Chi Yu, Chi Xian, Mommy is going to treat a little classmate, you guys have to be good and listen. Du Rua bent down to look at the kids, and got the three little ones to promise loudly and forcefully, Grandpa, Mom and Dad, you guys have worked hard. Not hard, not hard. How could it be hard? Waving with the kids, she immediately ran to the hospital. Can you find that doctor? Huang Xianwei looked at her child lying quietly in the intensive care unit, tightly holding on to her husband beside her. Ever since her child fell ill at home, the two of them had been in the hospital for 2 days and 2 nights. Wu Tingfei's eyes were red and he tightly hugged his wife. Dad found a lot of people to contact that person, there's no problem. He didn't dare tell his wife that old foreign professor rarely did surgery. This time he introduced his student, although that professor said that his student was far better at surgery than him, but he still felt a little uneasy in his heart. If the other party was a domestic person, if she was really powerful, it was impossible that all the doctors in the country had not heard of her. How is it? Has the doctor arrived yet? Old Master Wu finished breakfast and hurried to the hospital. Thinking back to the first time he met that doctor, the voice on the phone this morning sounded very young. He felt a little uneasy. Wu Tingfei gently shook his head. They just mentioned her, she came, his cell phone rang. Hello. Old Master Wu quickly picked up the phone. Hello, I am Du Rua, may I ask which ward you are in? Du Rua stood on the ground floor of the pediatric cardiology department. There were a few patients there. She really didn't know where the Wu family's child was. Knowing her specific location, Old Master Wu and Wu Tingfei both went out to receive the person. The two of them walked to the corridor where Du Rua was standing, looked left and right a few times. Dad, did the doctor say this is the place? How come they didn't see anyone? But actually there was a woman asking the doctors of the hospital. It wasn't that Wu Tingfei could still pay attention to another woman at this time, but that girl's existence was really too powerful. Everyone who came and went pretended to look at her once or twice. Old Master Wu looked at the people in the corridor for a bit, didn't see anyone. He also noticed that girl, hesitating a bit in his heart, still walked towards that person. Dad? Wu Tingfei asked suspiciously, following. Dr. Du? Du Rua heard the sound, immediately turned around. Hello. Mr. Wu. Du Rua smiled, naturally extending his right hand, even though the other party's face seemed a bit ashen. Old Master Wu ignored his son who was surprised beside him, trying to make himself look a little more natural. Hello. Didn't expect Dr. Du to be so young. He thought that she would at least be middle-aged. Didn't expect her to be such a young person. Du Rua smiled and did not answer. Since the day she started doing surgery, there had been many people talking about these issues. She had no feelings. Strength was the most important thing. She thought so, but it did not mean that others thought so. When Huang Xinwei saw that her father-in-law had invited a doctor who was of course so young, she immediately questioned, Dad, are you joking? She did not invite him to treat Xiaoji, she clearly wanted to use our Xiaoji as her experimental subject. You go. Huang Xianwei took out her phone. Husband, quickly chase this person away. I told my parents to go find another doctor. He will definitely be able to cure our Xiaoji's illness. He will definitely be able to. He will definitely be able to. Wu Tingfei tightly hugged his wife, already a bit crazy, although he also doubted this doctor's ability, but after all she was someone that Daddy had invited after many hardships. He couldn't waste Daddy's efforts. Wei, let's hear it and then talk. Is it okay? Is it okay? I'm sorry, my daughter-in-law has been worried and scared since giving birth to my grandson. I hope you will forgive her. He lowered his head and sighed. If it really doesn't work, he will directly invite a famous expert in the country and decide life and death by fate. It's fine. Du Rua really didn't expect that she had planned to stay in the country and still wear a blouse, but still made people feel that she was unacceptably young. Let me see the child's medical record. After looking at it, we will discuss whether or not you want me to do this surgery. The three people looked at Du Rua frowning as she read the documents in her hand, feeling uneasy in their hearts. Although they doubted the medical skills of the doctor in front of them, they still couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope in their hearts. "How is it, Dr. Du?" Old Master Wu saw Du Ruo put down the documents in his hand and hurriedly asked. Wu Tingfei and Huang Xinwei also turned towards this side, staring intently at Du Ruo's expression. "I think so. You all know the child's situation clearly. I'll continue. I'm also worried that you all won't be patient." Du Ruo thought for a moment. "I can only tell you all, this surgery, I'm very sure of success." Du Ruo had already left for a long time, and only the Wu family remained in the office. "Dad, what should we do?" Thinking of Du Ruo's confident expression, Huang Xianwei felt that she was a little shaken, but, could she be trusted? Wu Tingfei held his wife's hand, trembling slightly. "Xiaoji is past the age suitable for surgery at this age. After 6 months, the mortality rate during surgery will increase. This is also the reason why many great experts are not sure." Wu Tingfei tried to calm himself down and analyze the situation. "Dad, the doctor you found is Dr. Du's teacher. Can you trust him?" "Dad also found it through someone else. I heard that he is a professor at the best medical school in the world." Old Master Wu's expression was also 10 parts solemn. Like this, Wu Tingfei paused for a moment, looked at his wife, then looked at his father, closed his eyes tightly, and firmly said, "Let's ask someone to ask. Isn't it said that America still does a lot of this kind of surgery? Let's investigate further. If it's true, then choose this doctor." "Husband." Xiaofei. Making a decision, he obviously had a lot easier. At least she's the only one who says she's certain. "You're just going like that?" Xiang Xing exaggeratedly exclaimed. "Keep your voice down. If others see you, don't you care about your image?" Du Ruo's slightly bent fingers tapped the table, reminding someone who was momentarily agitated to openly skip work and go with Du Ruo. This place was near her unit. "No, why don't you go show off your skills?" Xiang Xing shook her hand, looking at the leisurely woman opposite, with an unteachable childish appearance. "Show?" Du Ruo almost choked. "What do you think you and I will be? Do you want to randomly pull someone over to bring out a knife, to show off how fluent you are at using your hands?" Poof, Yao Yu beside her spat out water. "What are you doing, beauty? You should show your baby what his mother looks like now." Xiang Xing was unlucky to be hit, and with a look of disgust, wiped her sleeves. Du Ruo had already dodged far away, calling the waiter to change the drinks. "I didn't do it on purpose, isn't it funny?" Yao Yu looked at Du Ruo and Xiang Xing with an innocent face. "Speak, you should at least say what your achievements are." "Sigh, you're pitiful, you're so famous abroad, how come no one knows about you after coming back here?" Xiang Xing stirred the fruit juice, regretfully saying, "Young Master Qi is so cruel." Du Ruo and Yao Yu both ignored that person. After all, if she was crazy enough, she would be normal. "To tell the truth, you were so sure that family members would find you to do surgery like that?" Yao Yu asked Du Ruo with a curious face. She smiled with her beautiful eyes, towards the dumbfounded Yao Yu, slightly opened her red lips. "Hold on tight." Yao Yu immediately lay on the table, groaning, "Someone come, subdue this evil spirit." "Qiao Xian, what are you looking at?" Jing Yumai followed her gaze, only to see 3 outstanding women sitting in the opposite cafe, joking. "Isn't that Xiang Xing Ministry of Foreign Affairs?" Jing Yumai looked back at Qiao Xian, only to see her staring straight at a few people opposite. In her eyes were jealousy and burning unwillingness. Jing Yumai was scared. She hurriedly stood aside, secretly saying in her heart, "It is said that beautiful women meeting each other will give birth to sparks, so it really is like that." She looked at the 3 people opposite. They were indeed very beautiful. Such a hot gaze, how could Du Ruo not feel it? She turned her head to meet that pair of eyes filled with anger, unexpectedly frowned. "Qiao Xian kicked Xiang Xing's leg. Didn't you say, following you to this place will absolutely not meet her?" "Impossible. Could it be that she also skipped work?" Xiang Xing groaned. "Could it be that fateful?" Yao Yu sneered happily at the misfortune of others. "Actually, you can try to be friends with her, you two have such fate, maybe you will be a good match." Ever since coming to work here, Xiang Xing could almost meet Qiao Xian every day. Qiao Xian saw Du Ruo see her but still pretended not to know. turned around, the indignation in her heart increased to the extreme, her chest heaved up and down. Without thinking she walked to the opposite shop. Oh, Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian. Jing Yumei saw Qiao Xian aggressively walking towards her, lowered her head and thought. Did they know each other? Suddenly possessed, she lifted her feet and followed. Hey, she's coming. Yao Yu shook Du Rua's arm, not provoking Xiang Xing, because it was clear who Qiao Xian came for. You're not avoiding? Perhaps she's here to find Xiang Xing? Du Rua indifferently took the juice, she really couldn't find a reason to avoid Qiao Xian. Xiang Xing opened her eyes wide, her hands clasped together. How could that be possible? Oh my god, Yao Yu covered her mouth to prevent herself from laughing out loud. She was really happy, she wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. Today sending her child to Qi's family, herself running to Xiangxing was the right choice. Qiao Xian quickly walked in front of the three people, stopped. Qiao Rua, oh no, I forgot that Papa kicked you out of the house, I should call you Du Rua. Jing Yumei had just chased after her, hearing the news that exploded, she immediately opened her eyes wide. Du Rua, so you were kicked out by someone, so your surname is Du? Xiangxing had an expression of you lied to me. Du Rua let go of her hand, I just found out now. She looked at Qiao Xian with a smile. Qiao Xian arched her back, haven't seen you for 6 years, why don't you greet your sister when you see her? Recently, her parents had been asking for help to find Du Rua everywhere. Qiao Xian, although she didn't know why, but she knew that she definitely wouldn't let Du Rua return. As long as she returned, the things in her hands would be reduced, no matter what. This was the thing Qiao Xian didn't want to see the most. She knew since she was young, her younger sister Qiao Rua was born to take everything from her. Take away her identity as the eldest young lady of the Qiao family, take away her father's love, take away the favor of her family, take away everything that belonged to her. Wow, so fiery, how come the usually gentle and kind Qiao Xian suddenly became so vicious? Jing Yumei secretly observed the beautiful woman, wearing a leisurely gray jacket with indigo jeans, a beautiful face. Is that person Qiao Xian's younger sister? How come her appearance doesn't resemble her at all? A sentence with the same way of speaking, I don't know, how many times do you need me to repeat it? I don't remember if my mother helped me give birth to my sister. Du Rua's eyes looked straight at Qiao Xian, she didn't understand, she didn't bother to pursue, secretly thinking to leave those people. What right do they have to stand upright and fearlessly cling to themselves and not let go? It's really strange, in this world when did being a thief become more ferocious than catching a thief? It turns out they are from the same father but different mothers? Jing Yumei suddenly realized, could this beautiful woman be Qiao Xian's father's illegitimate daughter outside? But, she looked here, looked there, which illegitimate daughter was more noble than the official daughter? But Qiao Xian couldn't possibly be an illegitimate daughter. Several colleagues from the same department were invited to her house for dinner. Qiao Xian's family seemed to have a lot of background. She was also the eldest daughter at home, and was also favored. Jing Yumei thought for a long time, but could not figure it out. Qiao Xian heard this, immediately startled awake. In her heart she was very frustrated. This Du Rua was really her comet. Every time she saw her, she would get angry and lose her mind, if she didn't wake up early, afraid that after today, everyone would know that she used to be an illegitimate daughter. She suppressed her unwillingness. It's been so long since we've seen each other, are you still angry with us? We're also doing it for your own good. What's all this fuss about? Xiangxing looked around a bit, toward Zhao Yuyu making the shape of her mouth when pronouncing, did something change? Why did her expression suddenly change? Yao Yu also made a sound, what a pity, she quickly folded her flag and went silent. For this kind of self-talk, Du Rua had learned a lot. The more you responded, the more they wanted, because her words were always vague and unclear, causing people to misunderstand. Qiao Xian was left alone by the three people, her whole body was shaking with anger, but she couldn't think of a reason to turn around and leave. Jing Yumei saw Qiao Xian standing there with difficulty, thinking that she was heartbroken to the point of trembling. Although she normally didn't really like her, but after all, they were colleagues, she immediately opened her mouth to help relieve the situation. Qiao Xian, so you're here. We have to go back. She originally had something to do and just went out, so what she said was considered the truth. Xiao Xian hurriedly replied, and hurriedly left. Jing Yumei smiled awkwardly at the three people, and ran out. It's really meaningless, every time it's the same ending. Yao Yuyu raised her chin, her face uninterested. It's really unfair, why do you fail every time you go against your friends, and then you cling to me without leaving? Xiangxing fiercely sucked the juice. Du Rua curled her lips and smiled, I'm afraid it won't be the case in the future. Xiao Xian now knew that Xiangxing was her good friend, so she couldn't even escape, so why would she come knocking on her door? That's right, I finally realized clearly, I can't possibly be fooled by her. Haha, actually, I feel that her way of thinking is very confusing. Yao Yuyu's eyes were shifting, obviously when she turned her eyes towards Du Rua, she was feeling guilty. Why is it that every time she still charges forward like a tree, not afraid of death? She clearly pretends to be weak on the outside, why is it that when she meets Du Rua, she seems to be out of control, then leaves dejectedly? In this world, the person who speaks the loudest is usually the one who feels guilty. Because of feeling guilty, they think they must use their momentum to overwhelm the other party. Du Rua reluctantly leaned back on the chair. Agreed, Xiangxing handsomely clapped his hands. As for the other side of the problem, it's even simpler, because this kind of person who measures a gentleman's heart with a petty person's heart, is always worried that the other party will expose their true colors in front of others, so when they see Du Rua, they always hope to be able to take the initiative to block her mouth. Disagree. Yao Yuyu's head raised. Oh? Xiangxing looked at her in surprise. There is only one truth, it must be, this woman. Yao Yuyu looked towards Du Rua, patted her chest, a bit evil. After speaking, she leaned back on her chair and looked at Xiangxing a bit. That makes sense. Xiangxing clasped his hands, bowing to Yao Yuyu in a Jianghu style. The two laughed and hugged each other. Du Rua angrily looked at the two crazy women,